I wanted to thank everybody for coming today. My name is Jennifer, and I am one of the nutrition coaches here at Bandit CrossFit. Dina is in the chat, but for some reason she can't really monitor it, so that's probably some kind of a technical difficulty error on my part. But she's here. She's also a nutrition coach at Bandit CrossFit. She's just not able to be here in person today. But before we get started, I did want to give just one quick announcement. Our May Lunch and Learn is going to be on plant-based diets. And that's going to be on May 9th at 12 p.m. And I'll be sending out information and links for that about 2 weeks before the talk. That's the second Thursday in May, just because May is such a long month. I was just going to push it back by 1 week to give me a little bit of time to get in. Anyhow, today we're talking about inflammation, and I'm sure that a lot of you that joined today are dealing with some inflammation, even though you may not know it. Some ongoing aches and pains, brain fog, or maybe you just don't feel yourself. And that's crucial to tune in because your body is sending out a clear message to you in those symptoms. These symptoms aren't just passing annoyances. They're your body's way of saying, hey, something is just not right. So I want you to listen in, and I linked the workbook in the chat. I also emailed that. So if you have that, you can follow along and take some notes. But I hope that y'all find some things today that you can learn and that you can especially take action on, because your body's really speaking to you for a reason, and it's super important to listen to it and make some adjustments. A lot of what studies have revealed as the main cause of all this trouble, these symptoms that we were talking about, is inflammation. But you're not helpless in this fight. We're going to get to work today to uncover what triggers inflammation, and then I'm going to help you to arm yourself with some effective tools to combat it so that together we can seize control of our health and revitalize your vitality, right? We want to feel better. Okay, get this back out of the way. So many boxes in the way. All right. I do want to take a minute and talk to you about where we get all of our information from and what we base our program on, our principles, our framework. We partner with Healthy Steps Nutrition. That is a gym and nutrition dietitian business in Florida. Healthy Steps Nutrition. They support our clients and us using a framework that's been guided, tested, and proven. And we believe that something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus really on a simple habit-based approach. We do know that helping you become the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or going to the gym a few hours a week. We have to focus on a holistic approach that addresses all of these things in this little circle here. We have to address nutrition, stress management, mindset, your support system, and your overall lifestyle. Healthy Steps Nutrition has helped over 45,000 people all around the world take control of their health. This is just a few of their success stories, and I'm going to share some of ours later. If you're looking to create your own success story, we know that while it's simple, right? We said nutrition shouldn't be complicated. It's simple. However, it is far from easy. There is a lot of misinformation out there regarding the best diets, the best foods, and the best exercise programs. It's no wonder we all feel very overwhelmed, and at times we just tend to give up, right? If y'all Google like the best diet or what should I eat to lose weight, you're going to have like millions of hits. And so I want to take a second before we dig into all of the inflammation stuff and just kind of tell you what my story with inflammation is and how I got started on, I guess, just this journey of nutrition, and not just nutrition, but just like that wheel said, my journey didn't have to do with just what I ate, right? All of those things had to come into play. The terrible thing is that I had no guide. I didn't know what I was doing. I did not go to Google, though, and ask it. I just kind of asked myself, well, for one thing, I'd been lying to myself for a long time of like, I didn't really care what I looked like. I didn't really care what I felt like. I was married. I had kids. I was, happy. But I know for one thing was that I didn't take very many pictures because when I go back through my phone and through my Facebook and looking for pictures before I lost all my weight, there aren't very many of them to be found. And so that was, one thing that I kind of woke up and realized was I just wanted to feel better about myself. And so I knew that in order to do that, I needed to make some changes. And I guess just in common knowledge, I knew I needed to eat less sugar. Probably needed to stop eating fried foods because that's a general knowledge thing, right? And I knew I needed to move my body. Funny story, I thought I would run. And so I bought some running shoes and I live in the country. And so first evening, like get everybody to bed and I open my front door to go, take a walk, go run. And there's no street lights where I live. I mean, that's how sedentary I was. I didn't even realize like, oh, I can't go outside at night. So anyways, we bought a treadmill and I just started with 30 minutes every day. When I got up in the morning, I walked. Once walking became, easier than it was when I started, my husband challenged me to jog and he like beep beep beeped up the how fast I was going and I was dying in 10 seconds. But I eventually worked myself up to where I could jog for 30 minutes. And he was like, why don't you do it outside? And I was because there's an air conditioner in here and it's nice. But I did. And so my journey kind of started with some, running and got into 5Ks. And then it kind of transferred over into like group fitness classes way back when e-fitness here was a thing. And I enjoyed that a lot because guess what you have when you do a group class? You have accountability. And then I kind of got into triathlons and anyways, wound up here at CrossFit maybe 10 years ago. I really don't even remember. But one thing, a couple of years after I started my journey, I woke up one morning and I couldn't move anything on my body. And I thought, I had just overdone it in the gym. Well, it lasted a couple days and I really couldn't sit up and get out of bed. My youngest daughter was a baby. I couldn't really pick her up. So I went to the doctor and of course he put me on steroids because he didn't really know what was going on. Steroids made everything go away because that's what they do. And then as soon as that ended, it came right back. And so he did some blood work and some things were off on my blood work. He said, you probably have, you need to see a rheumatologist. Well, it was going to be like 4 months to get into a rheumatologist. And I was like, I can't, I don't want to stay on steroids for this whole time, but I also need to take care of my kids. So I started looking for alternative help and trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I reached out and I saw a naturopathic doctor. They do not have those here in Mississippi, but I found one in Louisiana and went and saw her. And she talked to me about everything, my history from, when I was a baby and what my parents kind of did and how I was raised and what I ate and all of this. Very different from seeing a regular medical physician. But anyway, she gave me some recommendations and helped me change my diet because in one thing, when I was losing all that weight in the beginning, I had found foods that worked, and I was losing the weight. So I was eating a lot of the same things. And when we do that, our bodies kind of start saying, whoa, and they kind of quit processing them the same way. And I was missing out on vitamins and minerals from other food groups that I wasn't eating, like just different vegetables and fruits. Because what was I eating? Like a lot of chicken, a lot of broccoli, a lot of fruits. I was eating a lot of fruits. And so I did some food sensitivity tests and I had to cut some things out for a while. One thing that she recommended to me was to cut out gluten and dairy, and I did that. And I never did wind up following up with the rheumatologist. I just kept with the guidelines that she gave me, and I've just been eating real food and trying to get good sleep and regular exercise and all of those things, and it has worked for me. So that's kind of my story, and you really just kind of have to become very in tune, and food logging helps with that and seeing kind of what bothers your body and what doesn't. But let's dive into what inflammation is exactly. And the simple definition is that inflammation is your body's response to an injury or infection. Inflammation isn't just your body's way of reacting, it's a very complex response to different triggers. And knowing how this works is key to staying healthy. In fact, many diseases, especially chronic diseases, reflect an underlying inflammatory process. Here are just a couple of examples. obesity, heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, metabolic syndrome, and different types of cancers as well. While there's still ongoing research continues to explore this topic, some studies have already revealed a clear connection between certain dietary factors and inflammation in the body. These dietary factors involve consuming excess calories from ultra-processed foods, foods that are high in saturated fats, trans fats, and sugar. You might be wondering what exactly is classified as an ultra-processed food. That includes things like processed meats, such as deli meat, pepperonis, sausage, hot dogs, well, we have no idea what's in those, to name a few. It also encompasses packaged foods like cereals, chips, all the microwavable meals, cakes and desserts, to name a few. Additionally, highly refined carbohydrates that are found in these foods can initiate an inflammation in the gut, which in turn impacts your gut health. A variety of factors can and will affect your overall gut health as well. Things like excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, lack of sleep, overtraining, and ongoing stress. It's safe to say that our lifestyle and food choices made will play a significant role in either promoting or reducing inflammation in your body. So let's move on and define the different types of inflammation and their effects on your body. Let's talk about fatigue and chronic pain. There are two main types of acute inflammation, which is short-term, and that aids in your healing process, actually, and chronic inflammation, which persists over time, and that is what can be harmful. So how do you know if what you are dealing with is chronic inflammation or the good kind of inflammation in that short-term acute inflammation? Well, here are a few key signs and symptoms to watch out for. To summarize it, think widespread body pain, achiness in multiple joints, swelling, heat, and muscles feeling sore to the touch. Some other indicators of high inflammation levels may be trouble sleeping or some digestive issues, even depression and anxiety, and that term that gets thrown out a lot, brain fog. So those are some things to pay attention to. Let's talk a little bit more about brain fog because I feel like I think we all probably deal with brain fog at one point or another. But here are some signs to look for with brain fog. Do you have trouble sleeping? If you're unable to fall asleep due to a restless mind, or your mind is just wandering, or you're unable to stay asleep, maybe you wake up throughout the night and you're not able to go back to sleep, that's a warning sign. Having headaches, like those constant ache headaches or frequent recurring headaches. Another warning sign. Fatigue and low energy. If you feel like you have to have an energy drink every day or coffee, or you need naps to get through the day, or you feel like that afternoon slump has become the new normal, that's definitely a sign that you've got some brain fog. Irritability and mood swings, losing your temper with your family, children, coworkers, or friends. Also on the flip side of that, easily crying or becoming sad. Another warning sign is memory loss. If you're unable to recall words that should be easily accessible in your vocabulary, or something that happened last week. This happened to me last week, by the way. I thought I was experiencing what dementia was going to feel like. I could not get a word off of my tongue that I knew I was trying to say. Trouble concentrating, especially on mundane tasks that should only take 10 to 15 minutes, but recently they're starting to take you a little bit longer and requires more effort out of you. Or if you have low motivation and you're not wanting to get out of bed or go to the gym or make your food, all some warning signs that you may be dealing with some brain fog, which is a symptom of some underlying inflammation. The good news is that many of these conditions stem from lifestyle habits we have the power to change. By making some simple adjustments to your lifestyle, we can start to work towards enhancing our mind and bodies. So I want to go through a couple of ways that you can take action. The first is by adopting a well-balanced diet rich in essential nutrients. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Reducing screen time, managing your stress effectively, prioritizing sleep, and tracking your exercise and the intensity level and duration at which you're exercising. All right, now that we have a few specific focus areas, let's tackle that biggest one, our nutrition, right? Because that's why I think we all joined today, was to learn what we can eat and how we can eat better to manage our inflammation. All right, while there isn't one single food that fights inflammation, making sure to build a whole food diet will help with lowering your risk for inflammation and disease. This means including beneficial inflammatory fighting foods such as fatty fish like salmon, herring, mackerel, sardines, tuna, I like tuna, striped bass, and anchovies. Only like salmon and tuna out of that list. But it's important to try something new. And when you try something new, you have to try it 15 times before you can say you don't like it. That's my rule. Fish isn't the only form for powerful fighting components. Nuts and seeds have a place in this fight. Walnuts are rich in omega-3 fatty acids and are known for their anti-inflammatory effect. Antioxidants, specifically vitamin C, is helpful too. Vitamin C can be found in many fruits and vegetables. Red bell peppers, oranges, and kiwis are excellent sources of vitamin C. So consider adding these into your meals and snacks, incorporating them into your diet. Lastly, probiotic and prebiotic foods will help with keeping your gut bacteria balanced and inflammation in check. Consider adding in fermented probiotic foods such as yogurt and cottage cheese that contains that live active cultures. You want to look in the ingredients and make sure that that's listed, as well as prebiotic foods like bananas and asparagus to help support good gut health. And I've got some other notes that I wanted to share on foods. Hold tight. We'll get to that one in a minute. So when you're choosing meats in your seafoods, also look for high quality grass-fed, grass-finished, no hormones added, or if it's fish, you're looking for wild caught. When you're picking your vegetables, aim for a rainbow each week. Like think about the colors of the rainbow and try to incorporate each color. And try to choose organic most often when you can, especially if you're buying off of the Dirty Dozen. And that list gets updated very often. And I didn't get a chance to print it today. The Dirty Dozen kind of keeps up and shows consumers what produce has the highest amount of pesticide residue on it. And so that's why if you're buying a food of produce that is listed on that list, you really want to try to choose organic if you can, or just wash them really, really well. Nuts and seeds, you want to have 1 to 2 servings per day. And those can add some really great omega-3 fatty acids into your diet, a great substitution for some higher carb options. Fruit, you want to choose fruits that have higher fiber content and that are lower on the glycemic index. You want to try to have 1 to 2 cups per day. When we talk about that starchy portion, more whole foods with higher fiber, such as root vegetables, whole grains, beans or legumes, and lentils are all good to eat. And when it comes to added sugar, just please really read your labels and have sugar occasionally and very rarely, and really pay attention to signs and symptoms in your body as you take in sugar. Hi, Paula. I can see you. All right, so that's a little bit about food. Let's talk about what else we can do and the power of nature therapy, something that we have not talked about before in a nutrition talk, but something that a lot of us at the gym have been increasing with daily walks, especially. We do a challenge in June. That's something that I could have announced at the beginning is, I would really encourage y'all, if you don't already, because I know we have a lot of new people, to follow Bandit CrossFit on Facebook, because we do a lot that's not just for our gym. We open a lot of our events up to the public. But what we have coming up in June is a HTK. We call it the Harder to Kill. And it's a challenge just to move for 100 miles in June, walking, running, whatever it is. not counting your daily steps. It's intentional walking. But daily walks get you out in the sun and expose you to UV rays, which can have a great impact on your immune system because that's where we get vitamin D. And it's understood from research that not exposing yourself to sunlight daily can increase your risk of musculoskeletal system disorders and various autoimmune diseases that stem from inflammation. So vitamin D is super important, and the kind that you get from the sunshine. Our muscle cells have a vitamin D receptor and relax in the presence of sun, creating a heart protecting benefit, fighting the most common of heart diseases, like that atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of your arteries. While being outside is important, we also want to make sure you are cozied up in your bed every night, getting adequate sleep. And adequate rest. Sleep deprivation increases inflammation signaling, as well as decreasing your immune system functions. So the body rewards its systems with an energy saving switch when we sleep to allow for the immune processes to return to their baseline. Sleep deprivation has been linked to the association of insulin resistance, diabetes, and vascular diseases due to the inflammation markers that are triggered when we don't get enough sleep. So if you have 3 consecutive nights of sleep where you get less than 6 hours, that will drastically increase your insulin resistance. So that's fascinating for our people that deal with insulin resistance. Just sleeping can really make a difference in your levels. So it is super important to maintain a consistent hours of sleep each night between 7 and 8 hours. That can be super beneficial in reducing unwanted inflammation in your body, as well as chronic diseases. So sunlight, sleep, and rest, as well as your nutrition. All right. We covered a lot of information. So we really have uncovered the truth about inflammation. I want to shift over to kind of just what our core principles are and how we can help you in the gym. We teach our people to focus on whole foods first. If you notice all those things that I was mentioning earlier that were helpful, for as far as food goes, you buy those things on the outside of your grocery store, right? Along the perimeter walls. But all those things that I was listing that increase your inflammation are found in the aisles, right? The whole food options are on the outside, and you want to really start trying to choose whole food options more and less processed foods that have so much sodium and fat and sugar. A simple way to start this is by reshaping your plate. And like I said, refocusing on how you shop in the grocery store, shop the perimeter. But when I talk about reshaping your plate, I want you to think about your plate. It's a circle. And if you were to take a line and draw it down the middle of your plate, half of your plate, I would like for you to fill with non-starchy vegetables. Think your green vegetables, your broccoli, your asparagus, spinach, all those things, right? Green beans. And then that other half of your plate, I want you to divide it in half. So then you should have a fourth of a plate and a fourth of a plate and a half of a plate, right? So you've got your half of a plate full with vegetables. And then that quarter of a plate is where you would put your lean protein sources, that tuna, salmon, chicken breast, grass-fed beef that has a low fat content. And then in that other quarter of a plate, that's where you're going to put those starchy carbs, your root vegetables that we talked about earlier, your legumes, your lentils, those kind of things are going to go there. In doing that, we get to tip number 2 or core principle number 2. We are focusing on a balance of macronutrients. When we say balance, we mean that that plate, and even we can incorporate this into our snacks, is having a protein and a carb and a fat on it, right? Because our protein sources are going to give us a little fat, and it's okay to add in some healthy fats too, in about the size of your thumb. When you pair each meal and snack with those 3 micronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat, it's going to help keep you fuller longer. And that's what we want. Core principle number 3 is to limit the number of processed carbs and sugar. We talked a little bit about sugar earlier. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 6 teaspoons or 24 grams for women and 9 teaspoons, no more than 9 teaspoons for men, which is about 36 grams. However, the average American consumes over 150 pounds of sugar per year, which comes out to be 46 teaspoons per day. It's not surprising. Sugar is super addicting and it feels like it's hidden in almost every food product you find that comes in a package. So really starting to limit your amount of sugar. As we come to the end, let's keep in mind that even the smallest adjustments in your daily routine can really make a big difference in reducing inflammation and boosting your overall health. Today, I challenge you to take one small step, one thing that you learned today that can help you, that'll be the first step towards becoming the best and healthiest version of yourself. Whether it's opting for foods that are known to fight inflammation, or finding a way to better handle your stress, or focusing on getting a good night's sleep, moving up to working towards that 7 to 8 hours a night, or staying physically active, just starting an exercise routine. Each choice that you make contributes to your well-being. So write it down in your book if you're taking notes. What step will you take? Remember that this is for the long haul, so keep it simple. Take it one day at a time, one step at a time, one goal at a time. When Dina and I work with nutrition clients or lifestyle clients one-on-one, we always start with one habit. And people are like, that's too easy. Well, that's the point. We want to master one thing at a time. And then once we've got a good handle on that and it's become a habit, it's second nature to do it, then we add another habit and so on and so on and so on until we kind of have had a whole lifestyle change. Because if we worked on something from each little pie piece of that wheel of health that we looked at in the beginning, we try to overhaul everything at one time. It's too much and we get overwhelmed. And that's why people fall off the wagon when they are making changes to their diet or to their lifestyle. I will give just a little bit of information about our nutrition coaching program that we have at the gym. But I'm going to save that to the end. I do want to go over some frequently asked questions when it comes to inflammation. What foods cause inflammation, right? That's a big question. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but we'll dive in a little bit deeper here. And I have some other notes that I want to talk about too. It is known that certain foods cause more inflammation than others. These are things like gluten, casein, sunflower, safflower, soy, and corn oils. I hope y'all are taking notes because this is a lot of things. Processed foods, fried foods, syrups, soft drinks, sugars. Noted that this does not mean that these should be restricted at all costs, but consumed in moderation over time to help with reducing your fatigue and your aches and your pains. I promise you, it will really make a big difference. You will be so surprised. What about some supplements that can help with inflammation? You know that we're not big on supplements. I always advise taking the whole food first approach. That would be considered best practice. Sometimes it is necessary to add in some additional help. So the biggest supplement that I always recommend to my clients or anybody that I talk to is taking an omega-3 fatty acid. Super helpful in reducing inflammation by helping with it increases your blood flow in your body. So that's why it's helpful. But here are some whole foods that do have some anti-inflammatories in them that you could possibly incorporate into your diet and see some good results. Things like turmeric, cayenne, and ginger. These foods have high antioxidant compounds that may help to alleviate your symptoms in the inflammatory process. And ways that you can incorporate these foods is by using freshly grated ginger and turmeric in your dishes, and cayenne pepper, kind of just add it to your seasonings when you're seasoning foods. We talked about fish earlier, salmon, swordfish, sardines, also great sources of omega-3s. And again, I'll beat the dead horse. Look for wild caught when you're buying fish. If you can, purchase them from a fresh fish market if that's in your area. Fresh is best. when you can get it, right? Walnuts and almonds. I didn't mention almonds earlier. Those are both great sources of omega-3s. It's super helpful to refrigerate your nuts. You can dive into that journey on your own. Unsaturated fat can go rancid really quickly. You can add almonds and walnuts to your oatmeal or salads, or even just eat as a snack. Berries are also antioxidants used for inflammation. They can help lower your risk for heart disease and Alzheimer's and diabetes. Berries are also lower in sugar, lower on the glycemic index, so they're a good choice when you're looking for fruits. You can also take that curcumin and turmeric as a pill, as a supplement. But like I said, whole foods first. I'd rather you use the real thing. The omega-3 fatty acids, I mentioned those. Vitamin D, if you're deficient, check with your doctor, check with your blood work. Oil of oregano is a capsule that is also helpful in fighting inflammation. Some trusted and tested brands from our dietitian is Thorne, Thorne, Nordic Naturals, that's the fish oil that I take. Clean Athlete, clean with a K, Klean athlete. And then for our vegetarian and vegan clients, Garden of Life is a good brand that is well tested as well. Okay, I think that's all the side notes that I had. These are a couple of our recent nutrition challenge. We just ran a nutrition challenge and we had great success. We focused on trying to build muscle, and in doing so, the caveat, the ask was to eat more protein, and we had some great results. And so these are just a couple of them. I told y'all to follow Bandit CrossFit. We also have a nutrition. I send emails every month. So if you're interested in joining our email list, let me know. Another free source of information is this podcast, Nutrition Made Simple, that our dietitian at Healthy Steps Nutrition puts out regularly. You can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Just search for Nutrition Made Simple. Some great success stories and a lot of tips along the way. And I told you I'd talk to you a little bit about our nutrition program, what it looks like. We would start with a free intro, and you can scan that QR code if that interests you. But we have a couple of different ways that we can help, and not just with nutrition, but if you just need help with some lifestyle coaching, making your lifestyle changes, we can certainly help you with that too. We do one-time visits that we call a power hour. And then we also do like accountability coaching where we work with you for 3 months, and you have 3 in-person meetings, and then you also have some virtual meetings and check-ins throughout that 3-month period. So those are the 2 options there. We also run nutrition challenges twice a year, so you can keep an eye out for those. And of course, we would love to have you just come work out in the gym too. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, you can email info@banditcrossfit.com or Jennifer@banditcrossfit.com. I would love to spend some time answering any questions and helping you with whatever you need help with. But I'm so happy. I think we probably had record people listening today, and definitely a record number of people signed up. So I will be getting the recording of this out to everyone that wasn't able to join. So real quick, let me try to find the chat box again and make sure I'm not